Okay, team, we're back in our geometric logo worksheet, and we're going to work on another one of these logos. So the one that we're going to work on next is the Olympic rings here. And the Olympic rings use basically just some circles, as you can see, but we're going to figure out a way to do it so that they overlap. So you'll see how the blue ring goes over the yellow ring and under the yellow ring. And it's a little bit tricky, but we're going to show you how. So the first thing that we need to do is get these circles drawn. So over on our rectangle tool, we're going to right click and go to our ellipse tool or circle. And there's a couple ways we can do this. So again, we want to get rid of our white fill as we're just tracing an object. Now I could draw a circle to the outside of this blue, like so. And then I could draw another circle or copy and paste this one in front, make it a little bit smaller so that we have the inside and the outside of the rings. Okay, and that would work fine. We can definitely do that. Now that we have it like that, if we wanted to show that it was filled, when we do it like this, it's just two different circles. But if we go to our Pathfinder tool, and we can use our exclude, and it's going to make it a path here and a path here that make up one circle. Now that was a few steps that we didn't need to do. So I'm going to go back. So instead of drawing two circles, I'm going to draw one circle. And I'm going to draw it so that it is right in the middle of this blue circle here. So you'll see that it's not quite thick enough, but it is in the right spot if I draw it right about there. Now, this currently is one circle, and it has a stroke on it. Okay, so we have our fill, which is the fill color inside a shape, and the stroke, which is the outline. Okay, so I want to go into my Windows, and I want to find stroke. It's going to pop up over here. We can either drag it out into the middle, or I like to drag it into my toolbar and add it in there so that it's added along with all the tools here. So now we have our stroke panel. There's a few different options here. We can click show options to get even more, but the ones that I'm going to be focused on for this specific logo is the width. So right now, that stroke has a width of 1 point. I can increase it here by clicking the up arrow and decrease it by clicking the down arrow. Or I can click the drop down and it's going to show me a whole bunch of options here. So it looks like the width of that ring needs to be about 5 points. Now you'll see that I only had to draw one circle, not two, because this now has the outside and the inside being 5 points wide based on where that middle circle is drawn. Now when I want to make that an actual shape, instead of just a path with a stroke on it, I can go up here to Object, and I can go down to Path, and then over to Outline Stroke. And that's going to let me do exactly what we did on the original one. Now for something this simple, you could do it either way. When we get into more complex shapes in the future, rather than drawing two different shapes, the inside and the outside of a shape, that is the easiest way to do it. I'm going to flip this back to a stroke color so that we can see what's going on our original image. We now want to make all 5 of these Olympic rings. So similar to how we did with the Adidas logo, where we took the same shape and made multiple versions of it, we want to, using our black arrow tool, we want to click and drag. But while we're doing that, hold down Alt so that we can create another version of this circle. And you'll see it moving around here. Now, because I'm moving it in a straight line, if I also hold down the Shift key will make it so that I can only go in a straight line either to the right or the left or up or down or on a 45-degree angle in any direction. So as I drag it over in this direction, it's going to keep it on that straight line. So I'm going to drag my next circle over here, And then because I want this red circle to be the same distance from the black circle as the black circle is from the blue, we can duplicate that step. So to do that, again, we use the keyboard shortcut Control and D for duplicate. And it's going to place that next circle exactly where we want it. And then because the spacing of the yellow and green circles is the same as the spacing between these two or these two, we can use our black arrow selection tool to grab both of these objects. And again, as we move them down, we can hold Alt, and it's going to copy 2 more circles and place there with the same spacing. So that's how we can easily get all 5 of our circles. Now that we have them all created, we can start working on the overlapping sections. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of space to work with this so that I can drag it down, because I want to use these fills, but I want to also see what I'm working with. Okay, so now that I have my 5 circles drawn, we are going to learn about this tool over here called the Shape Builder tool. The Shape Builder tool, as you'll see in the little demo tooltip on the screen, allows us to take multiple shapes and combine them where they overlap. So it's a lot like our Pathfinder tool right here, where we can unite, but it gives us a little bit more control. In this case, we don't necessarily want to unite these shapes. We just want to unite certain parts of them where they overlap. So I'm going to work on where our blue and yellow circles overlap with each other first. In order to use the Shape Builder tool, I can't just click on it and start drawing. You'll see it's got the little icon below the cursor with the cross through it. I need to select the shapes that I want to build with first. So I'm going to click where the blue one will be and click where the yellow one will be. It's okay that they're black for now. And then I'm going to click on the Shape Builder. Now, when I'm in the Shape Builder, anything I do over here doesn't matter because those shapes are not selected. I'm only working within these shapes that I've selected. And you'll see as I hover over them, certain spots get filled in with that kind of gray overlay. And those are the shapes or the parts of the shapes that we will be working with. So if I look at my blue shape up here, we'll see that all of the parts of that blue circle, except right here where the yellow overlaps it, we want to be part of the shape. So I'm going to click and drag so that I draw over those shapes. When I let go of my mouse, you'll see that just that shape exists. So now if I click on it, I just have that part that I want to be blue. Then I can click on my eyedropper tool and I can give it that blue color by clicking on the blue up there. And now you can see where the overlap is. So the blue goes over it here because I've united those shapes, and it doesn't down here because I didn't. Okay, so now I want to work with the black and the yellow shapes. So if I click on those 2 shapes down here by shift clicking to select both of them, now I can determine where I want my black shape to be. So I'm going to go back into my Shape Builder tool, and I'm going to again draw across where I want it to overlap, just like that. So if I go back to my black, I now have the black ring, how I want it overlapping the yellow. And if I click on the different portions of the yellow ring, and I go to my eyedropper tool, I can pick a color from the yellow, and it makes that change. So we'll keep working here. We'll go to where the black and the green overlap. So I'll click on what will be black and what will be green. Back into Shape Builder. And again, I want to draw over where the black overlaps. And release. Go back to my selection. Click on what's going to be green. And my eyedropper tool. And I'll grab that green color from up here. And then last but not least, where the green and the red overlap, click on my shape builder tool. And I can see that I want my red to overlap across here. And I'll make sure I grab just the red and the eyedropper tool. And I can make that red. So now you can see that all of the rings overlap and underlap where they're supposed to, just like they do in the Olympic rings. I'm again going to draw my square around all of the shapes that I want included using that black selection tool. And I want to group them, so I can do Object and Group or Control G. So now all of these shapes are grouped together. When I grab one, I grab them all, and I can drag them back up on top of where the Olympic rings are in the template. And those are my Olympic rings.